Hello students, you are welcome to Kaduna State e-learning. I'm Rekia Lawal Othman. I'm here today to teach you history. And our topic for today is Sokoto Jihad. The contents of our discussion is 1. Definition of jihad. 2. Administration of the empire. 3. We are going to discuss on the effects of the Sokoto Jihad. 4. We are going to talk on the reasons why the jihad was successful. Definition. Jihad is striving for the benefit of the community. It is a struggle against terrorism or an open enemy. In Islam, jihad means to strive in the way of Allah. The Sokoto Jihad is also known as the Fulani Jihad, and it commenced in 1804. The administration of the empire. Due to the discontent which eventually led to the jihad, there was the replacement of the Habe rulers by a reformed Islamic way of life. The Habe rulers are the original rulers of the Hausa land before the jihad. They were the rulers that oppressed the Hausa people before the coming of the jihad. They made the people pay heavy tax. They do not allow them to go on their worship. They mix their Islamic religion with traditional religions. They force them to pay the kudin gaisuwa, that is a gift they usually pay to the emirs. They do not allow them to wear the turbans, that is for the men, and the women were not even allowed to wear their veils. So these are the discontent or the dissatisfaction of the Hausa people before the jihad. With the coming of the jihad, there was replacement of this Habe rule by the Fulanis, by a reformed Islamic way of life, that is by Sheikh Usman Fodio, who was the Amir al-Muminin, that is commander of the faithful. He was the Sultan of the empire. Shehu divided the empire between his son Bello and brother Abdullahi in a military style. Abdullahi from Gwandu was given the administration of the west. He ruled over the western areas consisting of Borgu, Dendi, Ilorin, and Nupe, while Muhammad Bello from Sokoto was to rule over the eastern areas, including Zaria, Kano, Katsina, Bauchi, Katagum, and Daura. After the death of Sheikh Usman and Abdullahi, Muhammad Bello, that is the son of Sheikh Fodio, took over the entire caliphate. The Sultan was assisted by a Vizier, his chief supporter, his advisor, and also his friend. The Islamic law was introduced in the caliphate. That is, there was the law of marriage, divorce, inheritance, mode of dressing, etc. That is, the Islamic law or the Islamic rules came to overpower the Habe rule. The emirs exercised some autonomous powers, but loyal and obedient to Sokoto. They were so loyal to Sokoto, they ruled under the directives of the Fulani leaders. The unity of the Sokoto Caliphate did not depend upon force, because then they do not have any standing army, but relied upon the obedience to the Sultan and to the Islamic teachings and laws. The people of Hausa land before the jihad since they do not have a standard government, they were being exploited by the Haɓe rulers. They now come back and replace this rule by the Fulani rules, which was based mostly on Islamic laws. The emirs attained some Haɓe titles. That is, they still retain some of the titles that were used by the Haɓe rulers. These titles were Yari, that is the chief of the prisons. There is Sarkin Yaki, there is Sarkin Fada, that is the chief of the palace. Then there is Sallama, who is like a receptionist. We have the Ma'aji, who is a treasurer, and Maga Takarda, who is a secretary. These are all Haɓe titles that were being adopted by the jihadis. Then we go to the effects of the Sokoto Jihad. 1. Creation of Sokoto Caliphate. 2. Spread of Islam. 3. Change in political authority. 4. Decline of Oyo Empire. And also 5. End of Sefawa dynasty. We start with creation of Sokoto Caliphate. A strong empire was created under the Fulanis with its component emirates. With the Jihad, Sokoto became a very strong and an impressive empire under the Fulanis. Emirs were assigned in different areas to oversee the activities of the Hausa land. The Sultan appointed some emirs who oversee the activities of the people of the Hausa land. Like in Katsina, Dallaji was appointed. In Kano, we have Dabo. In Katsina and Daura. In Bauchi, we have Yakubu. In Ilorin, we have Alimi. All these were emirs that helped the Sultan in overseeing the activities in the Hausa land. Bello supervised and regulated the deposition and appointment of these emirs. They paid tribute to Sokoto. Bello was in charge of supervising appointment of these emirs, which they pay tribute to Sokoto at least twice a year. He ruled honestly and justly. He avoided the rule of Haɓe rulers, that is their corruption. There was he now imposed fair taxes. He banned the payment of Kuɗin Gaisuwa, which is the gift they used to give before, and so on and so forth. The spread of Islam is also another effect of the Fulani Jihad on Sokoto Caliphate. With the great spread of Islam, many of the Hausa people were converted to Islam and they received Islamic education. The people of Hausa land then see Sheikh Usman Danfodio and the other sheikhs as role models to them. Thereby, they started becoming Muslim, they converted to Islam, and also they went out for Islamic education, which led to the emergence of Islamic scholars. There was purity in Islamic practices, which led to the emergence of these Islamic scholars. Purity in the sense that with the Sokoto Caliphate, under the rule of the Fulanis, there were no more mixing of Islamic religion with the traditional religion. Another effect is the change in political authority. As a result of the Jihad, the Hausa rulers were overthrown by the Fulani leaders. As I have said earlier on, the rules, the way of government of the Haɓe was being changed and replaced by that of the sheikhs based on Islamic way of life. The Jihad led to or contributed to the decline of Oyo Empire. It contributed to the decline of the Great Oyo, where Afonja collaborated with the leader of the jihadis, that is Alimi, who is the leader of the jihad in Ilorin, in order to carve out Ilorin as his own personal domain. As historians, you might have heard or you know that Oyo Empire was a great empire. But Afonja, who is the chief commander of the Oyo Empire, was so selfish. He wanted to carve out Oyo for himself. By so doing, he collaborated with the Fulani jihadists there, that is Alimi, in order to carve out Oyo for himself, which made the Alafin to run away from Oyo, and this contributed to the final collapse of Oyo Empire. The Fulani Jihad, or the Sokoto Jihad, also led to the end of Sefawa dynasty. Sefawa dynasty is a dynasty in Borno that is before the jihadis. There were a series of holy war. There were a series of succession of weak rulers in Borno who failed to protect the empire against external aggression. That is before the jihad, and even during the jihad, the rulers in Sefawa dynasty were very weak. They were not strong. So they could not protect their empire from external aggression. The Fulanis under Goni Mukhtar attacked Birni in Gazargamu and forced the blind Mai to flee because the Mai himself was weak. The other rulers in Gazargamu or Borno Sefawa dynasty were very weak. This allowed the Fulani ruler, that is the Fulani emir, who is Goni Mukhtar under Borno, to come and force the Mai to flee away from the area. This brought the emergence of El Kanemi in the political affairs of Borno, because El Kanemi is the flag bearer of the Borno Empire. So this is, in order for the Mai to sought help, he brought in El Kanemi to come and rescue the area. Subsequently, it brought to the end of Sefawa dynasty. Why the jihad was successful. The reasons why the jihad was successful: 1, unique leadership; 2, social grievances; 3, religious beliefs; 4, lack of unity among the Hausa states. Unique leadership. Usman Danfodio leadership qualities and his determination to revive Islam encouraged the jihadis to cooperate. The jihadis see Usman Danfodio as a honest ruler who does not exploit the talakawa, that is the poor. They see him as a role model. And also in their quest to worship their religion, that is Islam, they allowed or they gave way for the jihad to take place. They cooperated for the jihad to take place. There is also the social grievances, the existing grievances in the Hausa states. Like I have mentioned before, there were so many grievances from the Hausa people over the Hape rule. These grievances like injustice, corruption, over-taxation, payment of kudin gaisuwa, etc., which the Shehu preached against, made the Fulani and Hausa people to support him. The Shehu, before he waged the jihad, he has been preaching against this rule of the Hape rulers. He has not been happy with the way the Hape rulers were dealing with the Hausa people of that time. So with these grievances, the people of Hausa land needed change of government. They needed a ruler who is fair. They needed a ruler who will carry them along. That is why they gave way for the jihad to take place. Religious beliefs. As I have defined jihad earlier on in Islam, it is also regarded as a holy war. And it is believed that anyone who dies while fighting this jihad, he is going to be rewarded with paradise. And with this, it made way for the jihadis to participate fully in the holy war. They believe that jihad is a holy war, and they believe in going to paradise if one died fighting in such a war, gave the jihadis courage to fight. And finally, one of the reasons that led to the success of the jihad is lack of unity among the Hausa states. Lack of unity due to series of wars waged among themselves accounted for the success of the jihad. Before the jihad, the Hausa land were in series of wars. They were not united. They were all in wars. So with that, jihad cropped in and came in to being. In conclusion, all these factors led to the supremacy of the Sultan as the Sarkin Musulmi, which remained unchallenged until the early 20th century. So all these factors that I have mentioned earlier on, that is the uniqueness of the shehus and the social grievances, along with the religious beliefs and lack of unity among the Hausa land, all contributed to the success of the jihad, because the people were so tired of the Haɓe rule. They wanted a new rule. They wanted freedom in religion. They wanted to have more, to banish the collection of these high taxes which they were levied on them by the Haɓe rule. They wanted a fair payment of this taxation. They wanted to practice their religion purely without mixing it with any other traditional religion. All this contributed and gave way to the jihad. Assignment. We are here on the assignment segment, and I want you to please answer the assignment, answer your questions, and send it down to my number through WhatsApp or text message. Number 1, account on how the Sokoto administration was organized. We have talked on the administration of the Sokoto Caliphate after the jihad, so I want you to account on how it was organized. Number 2, explain 2 effects of the Sokoto jihad. Out of the 5 effects, you should explain the two out of the 5 effects of the Sokoto jihad. Number 3, briefly narrate 2 factors that led to the success of the jihad. And you can send this assignment through my number. Number 1, account on how the Sokoto administration was organized. 2, explain the 2 effects of the Sokoto jihad. 3, briefly narrate 2 factors that led to the success of the jihad. You can send your answers or any question through this number: 08037882650. 08037882650. Thank you.